Great. So once again, welcome everybody to Irish Hospice Foundation first webinar on advanced care planning, where we're going to be walking you through the steps of how to make your advanced care plan. Webinar 1 or workshop 1 is on your marks, get set, plan ahead. I'm Valerie Smith. I'm our public engagement lead with Irish Hospice Foundation. I lead on our advanced care planning program, Think Ahead, and I am joined by the fabulous Alison McMahon, our Carew regional lead for part of the Dublin area. She'll be watching the chat and helping me with all the tech along the way. So again, thank you so much, Alison, for your help. You may have seen this handy dandy image before. This is Think Ahead. So if you see this throughout, or if you see this around, this is the program that Irish Hospice Foundation runs on advanced care planning. This is part 1 of a 4-part series. You may have registered for this one and not the others, just to get a sense of what this is. You are invited to register for all the webinars. We have the second one starting next week, and the other 2 at the end of April. Each webinar is going to work through the process of planning ahead. For today, we're just getting started with what the options are, what materials you might start to gather and think about. And in future webinars, we'll be working through what those options really look like. Next week is Help Me to Help You, and this has more of a professional bent toward it because a lot of professional people are helping others to plan ahead, but this is really open to anyone, whether you're looking to be here for yourself or whether you're looking to support another person, and hopefully both. Webinar 2 will certainly kind of work with where you are there. In webinar 3, we'll be talking about options, getting really into those nitty-gritty, especially around the healthcare treatments, for common treatments. And then by the 4th webinar, we're looking at how we choose who supports us into the future when we can't do everything by ourselves anymore. So by the end of webinar 4, you should be able to write your documents and kind of get those registered and signed where needed. So we'll go through all of those things over the next few webinars. So for today, just getting started with what you need. So we'll be learning what advanced or future care planning is. You're going to learn what your options are. There's lots of options, but what we'll be talking about over this webinar series, and you'll start to gather those materials, particularly with the Think Ahead Planning Pack and the Enduring Power of Attorney checklist. We have opted actually not to go with verifying the ID today. It's just too much information, but we'll be showing you how to get started for that for next week. So how to get onto the Decision Support Service website. And then for materials, you'll have the digital pack, the EPA checklist, and 2 worksheets to help you start thinking about, for those of you who like to write things down on paper. Allison's putting those into the chat for you as well. Again, they're in your email and they'll be in the follow-up email afterwards. So we'll start here with the basics. What is this? What is future or advanced care planning? I'm going to use both of these terms. Advanced care planning is the formal term that you might hear medical or legal professionals using. I'm going to use the term future care planning. It's just a little bit easier to understand. When you see this image in your left, this little chat with an exclamation point, that means we've got a definition coming. And I've tried to create some handy, easy to understand images to support us as well throughout this. So this is our image for future care planning. And what is this? This is the definition. You're not going to be quizzed on this, so don't worry too much about it, but it's thinking about, talking about, and recording your choices, your values, and your preferences for your future care, including through end of life. It's a continuous process. It's not sit down and do it over dinner one night and then you never have to do it again. There might be 1 or 2 of you in the room who are ready for that. But for the most part, this is something that we talk about and work on over time. Its basics are thinking about what matters to you, talking about what matters to you, and telling others what you want. Think, talk, tell about your future care. This is future care planning. So even by being here today, as I always say, if you've come to a webinar or workshop, you don't know what you're in for, but you're here today, this is future care planning. This is the start of it. There's lots and lots of actions that you can do with future care planning, but you'll kind of see as we go through this, a lot of this is about talking. Most of it, in fact, is about talking with people around you, your family, your friends, or your carers, your GP or a consultant, talking with people that you might want to name in these documents that we'll talk about later. A lot of it comes down to the action of talking, and conversations are the key to advanced care planning. There's research that shows that even if you never write a document down, if people know what you want because they've had those conversations, then they feel confident that they've been able to provide what you've wanted and the care that you've wanted. So the conversations are the most important thing. And just on that note, I hate paperwork myself. I am an advanced care planning enthusiast. I think there's a few of us in the world. I'd call myself one, but I don't love paperwork either. But the paperwork is that next step, and it's what guarantees that your choices remain valid. They remain more legally binding and a little bit stronger for yourself and for your loved ones as well. We think everybody should plan ahead, sure. Everybody who's over the age of 18 and who has capacity, we'll come to that in a minute, should plan ahead because we never know what's going to happen to us, or sometimes we do. But we think that there's certain people who would benefit maybe more, maybe sooner, or maybe more immediately by planning ahead. And these people we would identify as people who are living with a life-limiting condition, who know that there may be illnesses or issues with capacity into the future. It's a great time to plan ahead, maybe not right at diagnosis, but as learning to live with the illness or the life-limiting condition. People who are retired or entering retirement, just a little too wordy for that bubble there, but if you are planning for retirement, I encourage you to start planning future care planning as well. It's just another kind of practical step that you can take as you're planning for your holidays and planning for making sure the house is all ready. You can also plan for your future care. If you yourself are a carer or a supporter, and if you're here because you want somebody else to be planning ahead, I really encourage you to do your own as well. It's good for all of us, and people feel particularly more supported if they're doing it with other people. So that could be through a support group, that could be with professionals, and that could be with family. So if you're hoping somebody else can do this, or you want to bring this back for somebody else, I really encourage you to do this for yourself as well. And lastly, I'm sure there's a couple of others of us in the room, the rebels and the know-it-alls, the people who know what they want, who are set in their values, very determined, dare I say, stubborn, who wouldn't want somebody else coming into their life and deciding things for them. Hats off to you. I recognize myself in you, and it's very important, but do, start thinking about writing these things down. Most of us, as we reach a certain age in life, might fall into more than one of these categories. So if you recognize yourself in here, highly encourage you to start planning ahead, encouraging those in your life to plan ahead. Now you're here, so you're on the right track. But I know that some of you, while this is for the general public, I know that some of you are here. I saw a lot of HSC emails in there, so I know that some of you are here from a professional standpoint. Just encourage you to start thinking about this for yourself as well. And the benefits of this are really wide-ranging. The individual, of course, benefits the most, making sure that you get the care and support that you want going into whatever the future might hold for you. But the people around you, your carers, your supporters, your healthcare teams, we all benefit by somebody else creating their healthcare plan. It means that other people aren't stuck, aren't in conflict, aren't trying to figure out what it is you wanted, or having to make hard decisions or do paperwork during a crisis point in life. So everybody benefits by a little bit of planning ahead. So we've got this handy dandy definition symbol in the top left, and we have a new word here. I briefly mentioned it. It's capacity. Capacity is a difficult concept, and we'll be working on this over time. So again, you don't need to memorize this term by any means, but this is the symbol. When we see this symbol, it means we're going to be talking about capacity. And I had said anybody who's over the age of 18 and has capacity can do some advanced care planning. So capacity is this idea that when you need to make a decision, can you do these 4 things about that decision? Can you understand your options, compare those options, choose one of them, and then explain those options to somebody else? So for example, can you understand the options of what it is you'd like to wear this morning? If you can understand those different options, you can do step 1. Can you compare them? Oh, it's a little bit colder. I think I might go with something a little bit warmer. You can compare them. You've done step 2. Once you've chosen one, it's a little bit colder. I'd like to wear something warmer. I'll put on this jacket. You've done step 3. And then explaining that choice. I'd like to wear that jacket because it's cold outside is step 4. So in this scenario, you'd have to make a decision about what to wear today, and you would have capacity to make that decision. We used to have this kind of idea that people either had capacity or they didn't have capacity, one or the other. We understand now, and now it's protected more in law, that we might have capacity to make some decisions and not others, or need support to make some decisions. And with a bit of support, we have enough capacity to make them. So it's a hard concept. We're going to be talking about it over these next few weeks, but this just gives you an introduction of what does capacity mean. When we come back to it, you have a few images there just to help you remember kind of the key concepts. Understand your options, compare them, choose an option, and then explain that choice to somebody. So we'll start with that first step. Learn what your options are. Now, there's lots of options for planning ahead. This could include retirement planning. This could include planning your holidays. This could include making your house the right size or getting rid of the things that might make it a hazard to trip over in the hallway. All these sorts of things are planning ahead. We're going to cover just kind of 2 main documents for this 4-part series because these 2 main ones will do a lot of the hard kind of work for you. Each of these has a couple of different options. So it's 4 things in total that we'll be looking at. With Think Ahead Planning Pack, we'll be looking at the Personal Wishes and Care Plan and the Advanced Healthcare Directive. So that's Think Ahead. Within an Enduring Power of Attorney, this is the other legal side of things that we'll be looking at. We'll be looking at financial and property decisions as well as personal welfare. So 2 separate types of planning ahead that you can look at that we're looking at here over this course. This thing circled in red, my beautiful circled perfect circle there. These 3 are the legal decisions that you can make. So we'll also be working through how do I make that a legally binding document? Can I change my mind? All that sort of thing. And the Personal Wishes and Care Plan, while it's not legally binding, it's really helpful for describing quality of life and describing different types of care and putting down kind of recording important information about yourself as well. So we'll start then with Think Ahead. I have a short 2-minute video that I think does most of my job for me. So this should work here. Let's make sure. We tested the sound. We should be all set.
Thinking about illness and injury, let alone end of life, can be stressful. Most of us try to avoid thinking about it and simply carry on with our everyday lives. But not thinking about these things doesn't make them disappear. Just like talking about what might happen in the future, including the end of life, doesn't make it happen any sooner. Addressing the elephant in the room, however, can reduce stress and anxiety both for you and those close to you. With advanced care planning, you can ensure you receive the best care available when you need it most, and that your preferences and decisions are respected. The Think Ahead Planning Pack is a tool to guide these conversations with your loved ones and to record your choices. Each planning pack comes with 3 documents. In My Personal Wishes and Care Plan, you can record your preferences for care. For example, where you would like to be looked after. It includes information about your legal and financial paperwork and your funeral plans. These decisions are important to describe so others know how to look after you and don't have to make those decisions for you. In My Advanced Healthcare Directive, you can record your healthcare decisions and name a representative to make healthcare decisions on your behalf in the future, in case you are in a situation where you cannot make your decisions heard. The 3rd document is My Medical Summary Form, which summarizes all your details so you can share them with your GP or consultant for your medical file. You should make and share copies of all the documents and place the originals in a safe and accessible place. With advanced care planning, you are taking your care into your own hands. Rest assured that your voice will be heard through all stages of your life.
So you have that planning pack in the chat. You have it in your email, and you'll have it again in the folder afterwards. We won't really be covering the medical summary form as much in this webinar, but we will touch on it in the future. But the two main pieces that we'll be looking at over these next few weeks are the personal wishes and care plan and my advanced healthcare directive. So the advanced, and we'll come back to the personal wishes and care plan. I want you to become familiar with it. The personal wishes and care plan has important information about how you like to be looked after. But it's much simpler document than the Advanced Healthcare Directive in a lot of ways. There's no obligation to sign things or date things. So what I'm encouraging you to do, and we'll come to this at the end, is just to familiarize yourself with the various options that are in the Personal Wishes and Care Plan. But we'll focus today a little bit more on the Advanced Healthcare Directive. Again, just introducing you to the various things you can do there, and then we'll move toward the enduring power of attorney. So, what is an advanced healthcare directive? In an advanced healthcare directive, this is the legal document. It can be written, it can be voice recorded, and it can be video recorded, where you state three things about your future care. So what are the treatments that you do not want? This is called refusing treatment. What are the treatments that you would want if they were available? This is consenting to treatment. And then who you would choose to make healthcare decisions, to consent to and refuse treatment based on what you laid out if you're not able to do so for yourself in the future. And just to reiterate, all of these advanced care planning is always about if you're not able to do so for yourself. If you have capacity to make your decisions, then we don't use the Advanced Healthcare Directive. The Advanced Healthcare Directive comes into play if you're not able to make the decision about your treatment and it's needed. So in summary, you write it, video or voice record it, and it lets you refuse, consent to treatment, refuse treatment, consent to treatment, and appoint somebody to make your healthcare decisions. I have another very short video. This is even shorter than the last one. 1 minute. This is going to summarize exactly what we've said right here. Play this for you.
We don't know what our future holds. But wouldn't it be nice to know our wishes and decisions about our own care will be heard and respected? With an advanced healthcare directive, you can record your future healthcare decisions. If a time comes when you are unable to make or communicate decisions, your preferences and choices will be known. In an advanced healthcare directive, you can consent to or refuse future treatment, including preventative, therapeutic, and life-sustaining treatments. Talking to your GP or medical professional can help you understand what options you have. You can appoint 1 or 2 people as your designated healthcare representatives. They will follow and make your choices and preferences known in situations when you might not be able to. Once an advanced healthcare directive is signed and witnessed, it is legally binding. Make sure to share copies with important people. If it is ever needed, you'll have your say in your treatment.
This is available. Again, you have the editable version in the chat, in your email, and after this. And this can be done on your computer. So if you feel very computer cozy, you're able to do this right onto your computer, and you just need to sign and print it off to sign and print. You can do this on your phone, and you can do this in a video or voice recording. But it does need to follow certain guidelines, and those guidelines are laid out in the Advanced Healthcare Directive, our plan. And we'll be going through this. I think the number one question that we get would be around treatment options. And so that is webinar 3, where we'll be going through. So for now, it's just getting comfortable with these different documents, making sure that you have them and starting to think about them. So you can download them. You can order hard copies online. They're €5 for a single document. If you are with the HSC or nursing home, we do have at cost by invoice, available for many, if not all, places. So you can email us and you can order these over the phone as well. We've done our best as well to actually reduce prices for people who are ordering more than one as much as we can this year. So just to kind of go backwards, an advanced healthcare directive, refusing treatments, consenting to treatments, and appointing somebody to make decisions on your behalf. So this is that legally binding document. Next week, we'll be going over a lot around values and thinking about quality of life, and we'll cover more of the personal wishes and care plan. Because there's lots of options with that. But you'll just, if you start to even just look through what's in there, see what you know already and see what you don't, you'll start getting a sense of what we'll be doing next week with that. And skip forward. And the next document that we're going to talk about is the enduring power of attorney. This is one that people, I think, feel a little bit overwhelmed by, even more so than thinking about their healthcare decisions. We'll be going through this one really, really slowly. I know you're all very capable of doing this, but it can be overwhelming to people. And I just want to address, I suppose, the elephant in the room coming from the back one, that there has been, I suppose, over the last couple of years since the launch of the Decision Support Service, maybe some stumbling blocks that people have faced in making an enduring power of attorney or figuring out this new system. So as of about 2 years ago, this organization, the Decision Support Service, which is a government agency, was set up. And the Decision Support Service helps to make and review all sorts of decision-making support documents. We're only going to be talking about the enduring power of attorney in this series, but there are other arrangements that people can make if they don't need as much support, or if they don't need as much support as an enduring power of attorney just yet. There are other arrangements that people can put into place to help them make decisions or to support them in their decision making. We're not going to be talking about those today. We'll just be talking about this. But the Decision Support Service creates the documents, helps people through the process of making the documents, and registers those documents for when they're needed. They have a lot of responsibility, also including making sure that people have the ability to complain if there is something wrong with the way that the enduring power of attorney is being run or looked after, if somebody is taking advantage, or if there's any issue around safeguarding. They have the ability to investigate that and to remove somebody who's working inappropriately in their role, as well as other abilities as well. So if somebody's trying to set up an enduring power of attorney, but it's not needed or wanted by the person, they have the ability to step in as well. The Decision Support Service, decisionsupportservice.ie, will be introducing you a little bit to that website. There's an email for questions, and there's a free phone helpline. And if you just press 1 under those options on the free phone helpline, you'll be directed to the EPA helpline. So EPA for enduring power of attorney, you'll be directed to the helpline that supports people explicitly with how to make an enduring power helpline. I also just want to say we have a great relationship with the Decision Support Service. There we are in Cavan with a great bunch of folks who've had some great experiences in Cavan. And these are real live Decision Support Service employees who help people all the time in getting verified and into the system and helping them make their enduring power of attorneys documents. So we're on the road and on the phone and online. So what is an enduring power of attorney? You know that they're made with the Decision Support Service, and you know that that it's an important document to make. So what is it exactly? An enduring power of attorney is a legal document made through the Decision Support Service where you can choose one or more than one person to look after any of these things: your finances, your property, and your personal affairs, if you lack capacity in the future. So again, same as the Advanced Healthcare Directive, which looks after your medical decisions and names somebody to look after, allow you to make and support medical decisions. The enduring power of attorney helps to look after financial and property decisions and your personal affairs, your personal welfare. So I think like one of my decision support service comrades said, it's like salt and pepper. It's good to have both. And this allows you, they work really well together. You're making these documents now while you have capacity for the future in case you don't have capacity or lack capacity in the future. Going to play another short video for you here. I think this one is about 2 minutes, and this is a video from the Decision Support Service. They have lots and lots and lots of videos on step-by-step how to make these documents as well. But I'll start you here with this short video.
People think about planning ahead for many reasons. There may come a time in the future where a person is unable or lacks capacity to make decisions for themselves. By talking to the people who care about us, about our well-being, where we live, our finances, property, and providing for our loved ones, those around us will know what to do to help, should we not have the ability to make those decisions ourselves. An enduring power of attorney, or an EPA for short, is a tool that we can use to plan ahead. It is a legally recognised arrangement that lets us set out the types of decisions we may need someone to make and appoint someone we know and trust to make them on our behalf. The person making the EPA is called the donor. A donor usually chooses someone they know and trust and who knows them well as their attorney. Although this person is called an attorney, they do not have to be a lawyer. Putting an EPA in place is a two-part process. It must be registered with the Decision Support Service, or DSS for short, when you first make it. A person can make and register an EPA at any time as long as they have the capacity to do so. The EPA only comes into effect or is started when a person is no longer able to make one or more of the decisions in the EPA. The attorney will let the DSS know, and the DSS will activate the EPA, giving the attorney the authority to make relevant decisions on behalf of the person. Existing EPAs that were created under the Powers of Attorney Act 1996 continue to be valid. The new law provides for some oversight of attorneys under these existing EPAs. The DSS can investigate complaints about attorneys under the 1996 Act in a similar manner to complaints about attorneys appointed under the new law. For further information, please contact our dedicated information services team on 01 211 9750 or visit decisionsupportservice.ie.
Okay. Whew. All right. So, enduring power of attorney. I'm going to try and break this down. We're not covering all of the steps for it today, but we will work on that over the next few weeks. But in essence, this is a written document. This one isn't voice or video recorded, so far as I know. Maybe if anybody from the DSS wants to correct me on that, please do. But this is a written document that lets you decide on what you want, what you want looked after. So there's the property and affairs decision and the personal welfare decision. Who you want to look after that. So do you want one person looking after it, two people, one person for one thing, two people for another? You have lots of options with this, and how they will do it. Will they work together? Are there certain restrictions? Do you need more guidance? What I will say on enduring power of attorney is that most of the time people are giving, I think the number that I heard from Anya Flynn, the director of the Decision Support Service, was that 98% of the time, most of the time, people are saying, yeah, you can look after all these decisions and I'm giving you what's called general authority. So while there is the option to decide that I want one person to do this and another person to do that, and you can only do things this way or only do things that way, most of the time people are making documents that are fairly simple and straightforward. But in essence, it's these things. What do you want people looking after? Who do you want to look after those things? And how do you want them to look after that? So over the next few weeks, we'll be going into these in detail. And particularly in that, how do you want them looking after that? That'll be covered in that fourth, thinking about building your dream team. How do you want people working together and things to think about there? So what do you want? Who do you want to do that? And how do you want them to do it? But for the most part, many people do find this to be a fairly straightforward experience. So you do have a bit of homework for this week and going forward. And with the decision support service, your homework, should you choose to accept it, is to review the EPA checklist. This has been emailed to you. This will be in the chat, and this will also be sent out again with the resources after this webinar. This is just the video that starts to gather all the information that you'll need to make the document. So you're not being asked to fill this out today. You're not being asked to know what all of these things even mean. It's just sort of starting to think about, okay, these are the things that I'm going to need in order to make my enduring power of attorney. My information, your information, and what I'm going to have you do. We'll be covering this all in the next coming weeks. So for next week, we'd said we were this week going to try and show you how to get verified. It's just a lot of information for week 1. So we've said we'll put that to week 2. If you're here because you want to learn how to support somebody else in doing this, this is something that you can definitely do with them. So we'll cover that. How do I get verified, or how do I support somebody else to get into the decision support service? This is really important. A lot of people, I'd say the number one kind of question that we would get on the road is that people find this an obstacle to making an enduring power of attorney, but it's really, really, really easy to overcome with a bit of support and a bit of guidance. So this is what we're going to do next week. So for your preview, after you review that checklist, you can go to decisionsupportservice.ie. You can either go to IE and click sign in, or you can just put in /sign in, and it'll bring you to this screen. This is what it looks like. If you have a public services card, then you're My DSS ready. You're ready. You can log in with your MyGov account, most likely. If you don't have that, you can make an account with the Decision Support Service directly, and it's really, really easy to get your ID verified from there. So just go in here, see where you land. Are you struggling with even getting onto the website? No problem, we'll cover that. Are you saying, oh, I don't have an email address? No problem, we'll cover that. Or do you see, actually, it was quite easy for me to get in there and to make an account. So just see where it is that you land with this. What are you coming up across? And we'll start talking about that next week. So this is what the page should look like when you're making your account. That's a bit of your homework for the week. Your homework is that checklist as well. And let's see, this should play. Review, this is the personal wishes and care plan. Lots of options in there. So I want you to just start flipping through these pages, start, clicking through these pages and seeing what you know and what you don't know. The Advanced Healthcare Directive, same thing. Start thinking about what are the things that I would or wouldn't want. Who am I thinking about naming? You don't have to do anything else with that yet. The medical summary form is in there. We didn't talk about it today, but we will in the future weeks. We also have a couple of worksheets. I think it's 2 worksheets over 3 pages that are just for those of you who like to write things down, for those of you who like to make pros and cons lists. These are some of the things that will help you determine what matters to you about planning ahead. So what is planning ahead? Why is it important to me? Have I ever planned for something before in the future? What was that like? And what is it that I want to get out of this? Is there a benefit to doing this? Is there a drawback to doing this? And you can start to think about these for yourselves. We're going to start having worksheets for you at the end of each webinar, and we'll kind of talk about what that was like. Not in small groups or anything, but we'll talk about that in the following webinar. So you can start doing this if this is something that is a way that you like to start thinking about things. So those are your pieces of homework for the week. And just keeping this is one of the, going back to the very beginning of this webinar, it's all about the conversations. Who is it that you can find in your life that will have this conversation with you? You can test the waters and see if there's somebody who's willing to start planning with you. A lot of times, anecdotally, we find that adult children of older people can be quite cautious. Not all the time. This is something that we hear a lot. So it might not be your children right away. It might be a friend. It might be a cousin. It might be a colleague. Different people might be open to having this conversation. Generally speaking, I find that there's somebody in everybody's life who's open to it. If you're here as a professional and you find that you have clients or patients who are wanting to talk about this, it might be because people don't find that their friends or family, that they're comfortable with having a conversation with their friends or family just yet, or that their friends or family or supporters are comfortable with them. So if you're the professional who's able to have these conversations, really, really, really encourage you to keep a listening ear. And do come back next week because we'll be working on how to help people identify what their values are and their motivations for doing this as well. Lastly, I've signposted you now to the Decision Support Service. I also want to make sure that you know about Irish Hospice Foundation new information and support line. This is for end-of-life care, advanced care planning, and palliative care. So we do signposting, and we are able to answer not clinical questions about an advanced healthcare directive or advanced care plans, but some of the more common questions. And if you have a question that comes in that's not so straightforward, we'll do our best to see if there's an answer that we can get for you without providing clinical information. But that is a free phone line from 9 to 1 Monday through Friday. I apologize for not putting, we do have an email address with that as well. I'll make sure that that goes out in the follow-up email on the way out, but it's support@hospicefoundation.ie, support@hospicefoundation.ie, so you can email your question if you don't feel comfortable calling. Just after this, I'm going to end the video recording, but to make sure that you have my contact information there, think ahead at hospicefoundation.ie. So that's the same as the information and support line will be support@hospicefoundation.ie. That's our phone line. Thinkahead.ie is the main hub for Think Ahead, with lots of other prompts and things that you might think about, especially once you start going through that personal wishes and care plan. And that's always there for you as well.